Get set for more money, possibly. There are reports of a fourth check, and we want to get you over to KCTV5's Kelly Taylor at the 5 Alert Desk. Good morning to you, Kelly.
Good morning, Joe. Well, here's what we know right now. Congress is already working on the next relief bill. 10 Senate Democrats want a fourth stimulus check, and if that happens, you wouldn't see that money until October. Now, this group also wants to keep extending unemployment insurance. The latest extension expires September 6th. No word yet on how much the checks would be or the eligibility requirement.
We have huge announcements on the fourth stimulus payments. Monthly stimulus checks are finally beginning to go out, and it's due to the crisis. However, dozens of Democrats are calling for immediate action, and this could mean billions of dollars being allocated toward new stimulus programs. Now, here is some breaking news. Dozens of House Democrats have actually been calling on caucus leadership to extend the enhanced child tax credit in the lame duck session. It comes as lawmakers look to tick off more legislative priorities in the final weeks of the passing bills. And members of the new Democratic coalition, it's the largest Democratic coalition in the House, wrote a letter to Nancy Pelosi. They said that they want more stimulus payments out. They wrote a letter to Nancy Pelosi, Senator Clyburn, and Bernie Sanders. The letter wrote that lawmakers want and demand prioritizing the stimulus checks and child tax credit in a end-of-year package before 2023. Congress also said they expanded child tax credit in the American Rescue Plan, a $1.9 trillion relief bill that President Biden signed just weeks into his presidency is about to happen. The measure increased the child tax credit from $2,000 to $3,600 and $3,000 for other children under 18. Congress did manage to include a form of paid family leave in the CARES Act, and it's the first legislative response to the crisis. But with the Senate narrowly leading the Republicans this time, a lack of GOP willingness to renew these benefits meant that paid family leave expired at the end of the year. The last payment with the enhanced provision was sent on December. And now, according to a study, nearly 4 million people fell into poverty in January after this provision expired. So the group of lawmakers also said that the enhanced child tax credit lifted millions of people out of poverty, giving parents the flexibility to return to work and provided families a stronger opportunity to exceed. Democrats believe that we must extend the enhanced child tax credit so families and children have the resources and opportunities to flourish. The lawmakers are also pushing for Congress to advance the research and development tax credit fix, which the new Democratic coalition said is essential to investing in American competitiveness. So the research and development, everybody, said that some domestic expenses have because of companies. A measure in the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, crafted by Republicans, enacted a provision that requires companies to seek deductions under a tax credit over 5 years, rather than after the first year. According to Democrats, the research and development tax credit has helped foster the competitiveness and innovation of U.S. economy and American businesses. So folks, now don't forget about this. If you did not receive a monthly child tax credit check and have not filed your taxes, you must do so to receive the extra money. Taxpayers can actually claim the benefit and payment by filing a tax return. However, this year's tax season ended very, very early, so you may be able to still get the money if you claim the credit by filing your return after those dates. However, since both deadlines have passed, the amount of money you're eligible for would be reduced by penalties, and refunds would be less than expected. So hopefully, everybody, we see President Biden take up and send out the stimulus payments before the end of the year.
It's an honor. It's an honor to once again participate in this critical summit. I'd like to thank our host, President Sisi, for bringing us together at this pivotal moment. Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start by acknowledging that this day is a day of commemoration at home in the United States. It's Veterans Day. America's veterans and their families, survivors and caregivers, are the very spine and soul of the United States.
Its main mission. So they couldn't get the IRS the information it needed to send out checks. But thanks to some legal wrangling, that's been worked out. One group left out of this good news, VA beneficiaries. The IRS says it's continuing to review data it has on people who get veterans benefits but don't file a tax return. The IRS does expect to come up with a payment date soon, hopefully around mid-April. Connecting the dots, I'm Tiffany Craig.
Rick Scott said he doesn't want to preserve the benefits of Medicare and Social Security, and he doesn't know if Republicans want to change that. In August, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin suggested that Social Security and Medicare should be discretionary spending programs that are either approved by Congress instead of federal entitlement programs or mandatory spending. According to the Washington Post, a spokesperson from Johnson's office said that Johnson doesn't want to eliminate the programs but thinks they are threatened without the fiscal discipline and oversight typically found with discretionary spending. The New York Times reported that top Republicans also suggested that raising the age to collect Social Security from 67 to 70 and raising the health insurance premiums for seniors, pitching the ideas as a way to combat high government spending is a problem. And President Biden, the former president, among other top Democrats, have called out Republicans on this for their suggested cuts and cancellations of stimulus checks. All we know is one thing, everybody, because President Biden must send out stimulus payments before it gets too late. We cannot wait for this to happen, everybody. President Biden must do it now. It's finally happening. New stimulus checks will arrive again this November for many people, and as well as December and January. People will get stimulus payments in those months. Many states have announced stimulus checks for residents in order to combat inflation and the increased prices due to inflation too. So many of these payments will be sent to those who filed tax returns in 2020 or 2021, but different states have different requirements for eligibility. The extra cash can also help you pay for Thanksgiving dinner or save for gifts as the holidays approach. It's important to know that if you qualify, you'll get the money fast. If you haven't filed your taxes yet, you could be missing out on a $1,400 stimulus check, and if you don't do so by November 15th, you won't be able to claim this money if you haven't filed yet. In California, for instance, the stimulus checks have been going out since days, and more are going to be sent out during Thanksgiving and the holiday season. The second phase of payments were sent to those who received the Golden State stimulus check as a debit card. Most of these checks should arrive by November 14th. Early this year, Colorado residents of at least 18 years of age and who filed a tax return were eligible to receive an inflation relief check of $750. And everybody, while most checks were already sent out in the fall, if you received an extension of your 2021 tax returns and filed by October 17, then you can expect to receive a stimulus check again next year at the beginning of the year. Idaho announced $500 million on income tax rebates for residents who are either full-time residents living in the state or filed taxes for 2020 and 2021. Individual filers will receive at least $300 and joint filers will receive at least $600 or more. 10% of income taxes paid for 2020 are going to be sent out to you right now. And now, residents will need to file a 2020 and 2021 individual income tax return by December 31st, 2022 to be eligible. Payments could be processed starting in late September, and with funds being sent via direct deposit, first followed by mail checks shortly after. Payments will be processed throughout 2022 and early 2023, so yours could be arriving this month. Starting in June, Maine began sending out relief checks to $850, and to qualify, you had to do your tax returns before they canceled it. Payments initially began sending out in June